Yeah, so we're going to talk about today about some doom and gloom, right? That's what we want to. Talk about, because the world's falling. Meta laid off, Twitter laid off. Like the developers are no more. Like forget it. Let's all just, I don't know, start making baskets, because that's
that's all we can do.
That's the new thing.
So let's get some reasonability to this. All right, first off, I'm older. I'm not the oldest guy on the planet, but I'm the oldest in this room, and I've been through several of these kind of periods, and so I've seen the 2002 tech bubble. Yep. We're going through another tech bubble exactly 20 years later, but if you look between 02 and 22, the tech industry has grown exponentially. I mean, it has exploded in growth, and so when you see Facebook laying off people, which we've always said, Kevin, we said if a FAANG company goes under, it's
going to be the one. Yeah.
Because it's social media. Those things don't always stay around, and they're trying to pivot to Meta. I get all that, but when we look at it, he did cut 11,000 jobs.
Yeah,
but they weren't all tech people. They work at a tech company. And they added, what was it, 30,000 jobs in the last 2 years?
Yes. So since pandemic, they added year on year. They added 15,000 each year, 2020 and 2021. So they added 30,000 over the last 2 years. So 2022 cutting 15 still means they added 19,000 in the last 3 years, if you want to put it that way. So they're still plus 19,000. They were up to like over 87,000 at the peak here before they let go 11. So yes, it's bad. It sucks for a bunch of people. It does. But you've got to put it into perspective as to how many they've hired versus how many they've now let go.
Yeah. The other thing too that I don't like what people do is like they think that because they don't like Zuckerberg or whatever he's doing, or you don't like Elon or whatever, they feel like the employees are getting their just desserts. Like somehow working for these companies makes you evil, or and I just don't think that's not the right take, man. I mean, you should never celebrate or trash on people when they're having a down, because getting laid off is stressful. I mean, that's for sure,
right? It sucks.
It's not great.
Yeah,
it happens.
Yeah.
So, but what I want to do,
we've both been through it.
Oh yeah, I have been through it.
We both through it. So it's like, it's not fun, but it's like you can't take it personally, and like you just move on.
Yeah, it's definitely. Let me get my camera to stay straight here. All right. So, but I think the other thing that we can talk about is what should we do? So like now there's this overwhelming fear, and the thing I want to caution people on is that the media pretty much always is selling fear anyway. That's what they're doing.
Right.
They like the
negative story is the story, isn't it?
If it bleed, it leads. If it's on fire, show it first. There's a lot of the reasons behind that, and so
so you end up with headlines like this, don't you? That are just like, and most of them aren't like that. Most of them are just, like this is more of an analytical story that I picked on versus just like Meta like ruined 11,000 lives or something. Is what you see in other places. It's like, wow, okay.
They laid me off with an email, therefore they suck. So like, but let's scroll down here and look at these. The one that I did find interesting is like not all layoffs are the same. Twitter has famously cut half its workforce. Musk bought it, and that's half the staff. Well, we got to understand that, hey, Twitter wasn't making money to begin with, and these layoffs were coming whether Elon bought it or not. I mean, like, eventually they were going to run out of VC money, and they had to do it. So, so that's kind of do it. Lyft, 700 jobs. Okay.
13%.
Yeah. Stripe. This one surprised me.
Yeah,
but like
payment processing. Yeah, it does seem like a weird thing, doesn't it? But I mean, I guess I don't know. Maybe some of these other things like dip in payment processing maybe is the reason here. I don't know I don't know enough about the Stripe one.
I do want to look in this third paragraph there, just to let you know that like not everything's bad. They got 14 weeks of severance. So if you're a developer, and we're going to talk about like what you should be doing at this point, that's a pretty good gig. You're probably, if you're a good developer, you're going to be working before that 14 weeks up. If you're looking, you may not. You may just take it as a vacation and then start looking. But
yep.
So it's not all bad.
Obviously, it's crypto.
Yeah, exactly. Everything crypto. We didn't even talked about that, man. Like, crypto, the bottom
down
fell
at the
out of
minute.
it.
Exactly. It's like, yeah. Although Bitcoin is up today, I did see that, but it's historically down. Shopify is interesting too, though. But again, like Netflix, we know Netflix is shocking that it's actually only this, to be honest.
And
where it is,
because
their
they
stock
added
looked
subscriptions.
down.
Yeah, but then they added subscriptions in the last quarter. So like, all these things are competitive, and so they're just trying to win.
Yeah.
Microsoft only cut 1,000, which tells you the strength of the cloud still plays here.
Yeah.
So
and that's just based on this, and I agree. That's based on here, like slowest revenue growth. Growth. The key word there is growth. See, we were talking about this earlier. It's like it's not that these companies are doom and gloom. It's not that like that all of a sudden Twitter is doom and gloom and Meta is doom and gloom. They're it's about predictions. Somebody predicts they should make X amount of money. When they don't make X amount of money, they make just a shallow bit less than it. All of a sudden, it's like they have to make layoffs to try and make that arc correct. And it's like, well, hold on a minute, you're still making money.
Yeah,
it still works.
So,
it's not you're not making
giving out
what?
Facebook's giving out 16 weeks of severance plus.
Yeah, that package was good. They were actually they were helping people
2 additional weeks for every year.
Exactly.
Nice.
Plus, they were actually helping people with visas as well because they realized that's an issue.
Yes.
If you're here on a work visa, that's like you have a certain amount of time to fix that to get another job, or you do basically get deported, right? Or you have to leave, basically, to your origin country, which is an issue for some people, for sure. So our friend, I don't know if you saw our friend Ash Kazarian, who we had on the show before, who's a policy expert, was working at Meta, and she was in the group that got let go.
Yeah.
Now she's on a visa here. I did see that she's on a visa from Russia, so it's like she has a different issue to deal with. She worked at a company who Russia doesn't like.
Right. Yeah.
So she has an issue with potentially being sent back there. It could be an issue. So there's everybody has their own situation. There's things you have to think about like that. But yeah, their packages weren't like, they didn't just say, hey, on your way, where you go.
Right. Yeah. Which they could have.
You're right. Which legally they're depending on where people are working, what the state rules are, you can.
And I do think they cut 1,000 jobs at Snap, which surprisingly, Robinhood. That's not surprising at Robinhood.
No, not at all. That was not at all.
Yeah.
Chime, I'm not really familiar with everything about them.
Right.
And Tesla was back in June, which I remember that was an early thing.
Yeah.
See, this is something like this is. I know this is a thing that Elon does and has talked about before. He is a guy that believes in making a cut before you need to make a cut.
Yeah.
Because there's this thing that if you make the cut, you can ride the wave. Whereas if you make the cut too late, you may not ride the wave. It's way harder to do, and you may not live through it. So that's kind of one of his things. So, like you said, Twitter was ultimately going to make this cut, period. He just made it earlier than I think some others would have done. That's all.
That's it. It was coming. Like, it's like it doesn't make money, and eventually you run out of VC money, and the board says, hey, let's get this thing back in reality. So here's the hope. Number one, 2002, we went through the tech bubble, and same thing happened here. The company names were different,
Right.
But 2002, I got laid off, and then I started my first company in 2002 during the tech bubble, and it's a consulting company. That's the first thing I did, is started something new, and we got laid off. Then there's 2008. I mean, the banking sector collapsed, subprime mortgage, all those kind of things happened, and like it was awful. And, lots of people lost their jobs in the banking sector because, it's funny. We lived in Winston-Salem. I know you do. So Winston-Salem's right down the street from Kernersville, and inside of Winston-Salem before 2008, do you know the headquarters? It was like Wachovia headquarters, BB&T headquarters. I forget the name of it, but that's the one that's been sold a couple of times now.
Merrill
but like,
Lynch, there was one of those. There was one of these. None of these other ones that got consumed.
They were green. Yeah, that's one of those.
Yeah.
They were green.
Yeah.
But they were all downtown, and the ones that weren't in downtown were in downtown Charlotte. And so, like, it's amazing that we had that much banking sector there. And then in 2008, Wachovia at the time, I remember, was a bank on Friday. On a Monday, it wasn't, and it was owned by Wells Fargo. Wachovia. BB&T at one point was in the top 5 biggest banks in the world. So these things happen, stuff happens, but you know what? The employment does go through retractions and for brief periods of time, and then it comes right back. Yeah. And so like tech in general has always grown through both of these slowdowns. Every one of them. It's continued to grow. Certain pockets retract, but other pockets grow out. Right. And so, you know, you can look at like how many people are working at banks as technology professionals, a lot. And when that happened, some of their jobs were redundant because they just merged systems with other banks, you know, and so they got let go. They went somewhere else to work. So I do believe that we don't need to panic because we see the news. The news needs to make headlines to make money. I mean, like that's ultimately what they're going to do. I'm not saying it's not happening. I'm not trying to like gaslight people and say it's not happening. Right. But what I am telling you is that the tech industry is still growing. It's just going to be a different sector. So we call the tech sector, and that's the FANG companies. They're having a go at it right now. So there's some competitions coming in. Interest rates rise. They were getting free money before. There's some turnover in these things. I mean, you know, Elon Musk buys Twitter, cuts half the staff. You know, is Snapchat going to live through the year? We don't know. I mean, Snapchat doesn't make money either. So like, you know, but then there's other things that are profitable. You know, when you look at Google, Amazon, and Microsoft, they're heavily invested in cloud. They're making money.
Plus, we talked about this earlier too. We talked about we're seeing this right now. We're seeing kind of two industries that are kind of hit by this right now. Tech, the biggest, and mortgages. Mortgages being, obviously there's no origination in mortgages anymore because interest rates went up. So people aren't originating mortgages anymore. So that's like, you know, so that's a market that's been hit too. There's a lot of job losses there. But tech being the most like the biggest one right now. It hasn't hit other areas of the market yet. Or maybe it never will. Because we were talking about this. Yeah. There are tech jobs in every part of the market that aren't just tech.
Right.
Tech is more than tech.
Construction. So
it's every other industry.
We had 3 Coder Foundry students this week all get construction jobs in tech. So they're building software in there in a construction job. 3 of them landed this week. So what I want to tell you is like people are still getting hired. It's just maybe it's not Facebook.
Right.
And I do like one of the comments here, like most of us aren't going to work at Facebook anyway. So like, is that a big deal that we're not at Facebook? You know?
Yep.
You know?
Yep. That's it.
So I think there's a lot more hope here than what people think. So the question is, what do you do during when you see the downtown? Yeah, exactly. We weren't going to work there anyway. You know,
let's talk about this. Look, this is going to lead into what you're going to talk about next. So Adam says, I just found your video. So learning to code is a waste of time, which is sad. I need to explain to my wife I wasted 6 months to code. Now here's his reasoning behind this, right? Tough job market, going against people with 5 years of experience in it. Dude, I hate to break it to you, you're not competing with that same person, Adam. You never were.
No, never were. And so a 5-year guy that's writing full stack web apps for 5 years is not interviewing for a entry level position. Okay, he's not. Yep. He's not going to do it. He's not going to take he's not going to have to take the pay cut. He's not going to have to take any job that comes his way. And suddenly he's changing CSS style sheets or just doing on the bug hunt. No, people that add value will always have value in the marketplace, and they're always going to be paid above board. So even in 2020, you know, when we look at the down that happened in 2020, high-end devs were still being hired. It's relevant. You can see Facebook was hiring enormous amounts of them, and Facebook will hire again. They're not going out of business unless something happens. But let's say even if Facebook goes out of business, it goes the way of MySpace, something will replace it. Here's what I can promise to everyone sitting out there watching this right now. Every single time we have one of these downturns, something new is created, and they become the next it thing that everyone wants to work for or use. And that's what happens. And so like we talked about this before the show here, like, you know, let's say that you are a really great engineer and you got laid off at Facebook. You're still a great engineer, you know, and you have 16 weeks plus 2 weeks of vacation for every year that you work there. So you're the 5 years, you may come out of there with 26 weeks of vacation. What better time to put your skill to work than build something that you could sell to someone else? You may be tired of the corporate grind. You're like, oh, I'm gonna start my own thing. That's what I did. I mean, I started in '02. It was the worst time to start a business ever.
Right.
But you find opportunities, and like, hey, if I'm gonna get laid off, I'm gonna lay me off. Might as well not wait for the hammer to happen. So like, there's gonna be things that spring up out of this that we don't know what it's going to be or where it's going to go, and they're going to be the next thing.
Yeah, I think the next billion-dollar company spawns from one of these people leaving one of these companies 100%. Right now. Because think about it, we talked about this. Like, so to get into Fang, right? There was they were able to hire the best of the best, right? Because of their process, because of whatever, the amount of people that would apply, they literally would hire the best of the best. So let's say for every position at Fang, they were at a very minimalistic amount. There were 10 people going for that role. That means firstly, 90% of those people didn't get a role at Fang, right? So they went on and went into something else. Trust me, they did something else at a different company who hired them, and they're probably still there.
Right.
So a small percentage of people got into Fang, so they can literally take the best of the best. So they've had to get rid of people who are really good at their jobs. It's a massive opportunity for other startups to get these people, because guess what? They've been complaining for the past years that they could not get the top talent because they couldn't lure them away from Fang companies. Well, guess what? Now you can. Now's your opportunity. So there's that to start off with. And secondly, these people are so smart that a bunch of them will believe they can start their own thing and will go and create the next billion-dollar company. It's going to come out. We're going to be seeing in the 10 years' time, we're going to say, yeah, I remember the day it happened. Like, I was at Twitter, and like I was one of the 50% of the people that got let go, and I decided, man, I'm not going to do that anymore. I'm going to do this. It's going to happen. It's going to be a thing. Right. I have no doubt.
So I have no doubt, too, that the marketplace as a whole for developers, the market is going to expand. We're not, even if we have a recession in the GDP of the entire country in the US here, if you go back and just say, okay, developers as a role, how many are working in 2021 or 2022 right now versus the end of 2023? It's going to be more. There's going to be more developers working next year than there are this year. Yep. And it's going to expand, and it's going to expand by quite a bit. So when you're thinking about it, I've just wasted 6 months of my life learning to code, is the wrong thing to do. Here's what you do in downturns. And this is, if you have a piece of paper out there and you want to listen to me, just listen to this right now. Skill up, not skill down. You need to skill up and not skill down. So if you're out of work and you're unemployed right now and you just got laid off, then you need to invest into you and then become more valuable in the marketplace. I promise you this, man, that the stock market may be down, but it's going to come back. It will go back up. It always does. We always have downturns. And this is the advantage of being over 50. You've seen this.
You've seen it a few times. Yeah.
It's like, I've been there, not to go all dad, get off my lawn, but like, it's very, it's easy. And then when you talk to someone older, someone in their 70s or 80s, or in their 90s, you can see that they were around when the Depression happened and things like that, and they can tell you like, yeah, we made it, right? And they did. I mean, they did make it. And so like, the best thing you can do right now is skill up and skill, not skill down. The last thing you want to do is what I call go fetal, which is like, I'm going to crawl in a corner and go fetal because I'm afraid of what's going to happen. Therefore, I'm not going to do anything. And so I'm just going to wait and do nothing until it gets better. And then you go in the marketplace when it's better. And so it's better to be ready to go in the marketplace when it does come back, instead of trying to go out there later when everyone else is out there and it becomes more competitive. So be competitive now. So
Dad has a great quote here. Look, little Art of War quote. I love it. And in the midst of chaos, there is also opportunity.
There's always opportunities, and especially this, if you're listening to us and you're inside the United States of America, the US, when we talk about recession, all recessions aren't created equal. You know what I mean? Like we
just added 200 and something thousand jobs in the last quarter, yet we're in a recession.
Yeah, and
it's a mathematical thing. Yeah, right. It's this mathematical number thing. It's this criteria of things. But it's not. The world isn't falling apart. It's not what it is.
And we talked about this too. This is not like we're sitting here in 1944 and like half of Europe's on fire and like Germany's marching across the world to kill everyone. Like, no, we have relatively peace throughout the world right now. We have definitely relatively peace out here. The thing that drives some of these markets and downturns is uncertainty. And so in our political cycle, our election cycle that's now just ending, is you're going to see people coming back because the uncertainty's down. Now, maybe your side didn't win or my side didn't win. It doesn't matter. The markets will and the companies will say, well, that's settled now. We kind of know what the rules of the game are going to be. The fear's gone. It is what it is, and let's. And
we're actually seeing that today in the market already. If you look at the market
Absolutely.
today,
100%.
it's green already. Like, and in chunks, it's green too. It's not just like a little bit. Something like it's 5-10% up on certain things.
Yeah, and what I find funny is people say, well, it's because. And you could put your political precision there. My team won, so both of them are claiming victory from yesterday's election, which I think is the best thing that could ever happen. And just settle
when
it.
Everyone feels like a winner. It's great.
It's good. We're all win. Like you're a winner. You're a winner. And so like I think that's all working in our favor. And then by January, rolling around January, it's going to come out and everything's going to be well. I can remember I said this right before COVID in 2019 that it's going to to be okay. And then everyone said,
we had that great video.
Long.
We had that video that you put it like a month before. It's like,
but like what was crazy is when we came back, we said, well, that didn't last long, but we didn't. Hindsight's 2020. Looking back through that,
is a boom.
Hey, the tech guys did okay.
Yeah. Well, they did better than okay. That's
Zoom
what happened.
Absolutely loved that.
That's what happened. They did better than okay, and what they did was they predicted that those times would last past the end of the pandemic, basically past the end of the 2 years, and they didn't. So that's what happened. They hired for the expectation that they were going to keep on that trajectory, and they didn't. It slowed down. So that's why we're seeing these layoffs. I think it was Facebook or Meta 2 times their staff in the course of, I think it was 3 years. So they doubled their staff in the course of 3 years. That's crazy. Through a pandemic. Like, of course they're having to realize when it slows down, they're having to like cut back a little bit. Of course they are.
Yeah, there's a little bit of a correction here, and then they're saying that they may have overhired in some areas, and some of the investments they were making didn't pan out, and so they laid them off. The layoffs happened quite a bit. It's just now they make the news.
Still all in on the VR stuff, by the way, too. Just point out there, they haven't cut back any of that stuff yet. They're still all in on that. That's still a gamble. So don't.
No, back to that. One thing that I do find interesting is that the media's killing Zuckerberg for spending $15 or $10 billion, and they're saying the reason he's cutting back is he overspent in VR. I'm like,
I wouldn't say that.
I wouldn't say that. I think that these people see the screen shift coming, and they're preparing to do it. It's just that Facebook is really super open about it. I guarantee you, Apple is working on a device.
Yeah.
Microsoft's working on a device. They're just not disclosing how much money they're spending on this.
Yeah.
I mean, but they're going to be ready when this screen shift happens, that we're going to have a next explosion. When the screen shift happens, new companies, new explosions, new technology, new things happening. I was just looking at a commercial the other day that I saw on YouTube, and the guy was wearing a pair of glasses looking at his fruit trees and seeing like where they do they need irrigation or not.
Interesting. Okay.
And I'm like, that's exactly what I'm talking about, man. Like, like farm, and that's what you don't think about. Farmers, construction, repairs, like all of these other sectors that aren't tech sectors are going to explode.
Yeah, because they are all tech. And tech's everywhere. It's in everything.
Everywhere.
It's in every industry. It's in every industry. Yeah. Every company's a tech company these days. They just are.
And so I think the one thing that you can do is build something. I think if you're sitting out there and you're learning right now, is build something. Because I've seen this over and over again with students coming out of our program looking for work, that proof of work is a powerful interview tool. Like if you can show something that's working, you can overcome your lack of ability to interview well.
Yes.
By demoing something that's really cool.
You can come out of an interview. You can come out of an interview being like, "Man, I really bombed that interview." I'm like, "But I did get to show my work," and you can still get the job. You can 100%
get it. And I saw that happen last week. I promise you, I saw that happen last week where one of the guys said, "Hey, I didn't do well," and then he got an offer 6 days later. And the only thing I can surmise is that his interviews and his portfolio is that good, and it is. It's really good.
Yeah.
It's just that
proof of work
the
is what
nervousness and like proof of work's got him over the hump. So the best thing you can do is probably, if you're sitting at home unemployed anyway, is build something that you can show an employer when the time happens, And so people are still getting hired now, so don't give up. And just because 11,000 people got hired, let go this week at Facebook, doesn't mean they're all engineers either.
Yep. We just had, like you said, you hit on this earlier. We had 3 go to the same company like 2 days ago, 1 day ago, whenever it was. I think it was a couple days ago.
1 or 2 days ago.
I think Kelly,
all 3 got offers.
Like, all 3 got offers. It's like, wow, okay, that's cool. Yep. That's cool.
So
and I've seen plenty on Twitter as well. Like, I'm not talking about just like mid or senior devs either. So Sean, who was here, I don't think he's here at the minute. I haven't seen him comment, but he was here last week talking about his second offer that he just got. Literally last week. He got this offer last week. Like, he got his second job, like making a bunch more money. I saw a bunch of tweets this week from people who are brand new, who are literally getting their first job, saying, hey, I got my first job as a dev. They're still out there. Go look at them. You can go find them. Go look on Twitter. I guarantee they're there right now. People are still hiring. It's just that companies that had a lot of money employed a lot of people through a time where they thought they were going to do better. That's it.
Right.
It's literally that simple.
Yeah, and so the article will never be written. When you look at this, the article will never be written. Facebook adds 600 jobs in the first quarter of 2023. It's not going to. They'll never write that article.
The headline right now isn't Facebook's hired 19,000 employees over the last 3 years. That's not the headline, but that's the truth.
That's what happened. And so, like, so just realize that the negative news will always lead first. The other thing I think is interview game. I think you've got to like study for your interview game, be able to interview well, answer tech questions, and be able to turn tech questions into demo. If you can demo a question, you're going to be better. So if someone asks you, how do you reverse a string in an array? It'd be awesome if you could show something where you had to do it. But if you want to know where I would study right now for entry-level jobs, for tech interview questions, they're going to be in and around using arrays, manipulating arrays. So finding the longest string in an array, finding the duplicates in an array, sorting an array, filtering arrays, reverse of strings in arrays, breaking things apart, pushing them together, finding the unions between 2 arrays. Those are the types of things that you can look at, and all those questions are easily found. In fact, we have a JavaScript course on Foundry that has 11 of the more famous ones out there, and I think it's free. So you can go there and check it out.
It is. I'll actually pull it up while we're talking about it. Why not?
Yeah. So like so right there, JavaScript coding challenges.
This one right here. Yep. I don't know if I'm signed in here, but we'll see. I'm not signed in.
Not yet.
Let me sign myself in.
But log in there. Get that password, that Kevin Doyle password.
Yep. Where are we? Right here. Yes, you got a bunch.
So we do longest word, balanced brackets.
This one's a toughie bit.
KM to miles, sorting objects, anagram check, count files, palindrome, sum arrays, searching objects, and then we've got most used word.
That's a good one. I like that one.
And then doing something with recursion. So we may add more to those, but like that'll get you started where you can start building things, learning how to solve problems and that kind of stuff. It's easy. It's free.
You go to learn.codefoundry.com.
Yeah. So basically, to review, skill up, not down. Don't wait around. Invest in you. Build something. Build anything, and then show that at your next opportunity to interview. Keep interviewing. Keep looking. You haven't wasted your time. The market is going to expand, not contract. And then here's the third one, and I see this a lot, still to this day on LinkedIn, and I'm going to still continue to preach about this, is your recruiter game has to be strong. And so like I saw someone the other day talking about like, I get so sick and tired when a recruiter calls me, pitching me a job that I'm not qualified for. It's like, okay, woe is you that someone called you and said, hey, do you want to do this job? So like I'm sure that 11,000 Facebook employees are like, man, I wish a recruiter would call me right now. And so like what I want you to think about this is, a lot of times recruiters are doing broad-based searches, reaching out to as many people as they can find to try to find a match, and they don't always know the nuance of the tech stack. And a lot of times developers hold that against the recruiters. Well, you should know, Kevin, that I'm an ASP.NBC engineer and I'm not using Razor Pages. I mean, I'm not doing Spring. I'm not doing that. I'm not an iOS developer. Didn't you read my profile? And the answer is no.
Right.
Right. Second, here's the thing that may be shocking. Maybe your portfolio and your profile isn't absolutely clear about what you can do.
Right.
And so they're just reaching out and says, hey, I've got developer on my resume. Let me see if this person can do this. So here's what you should do. If you get a request to talk to a recruiter that says, hey, are you interested in this iOS developer job? And you're not an iOS developer, go talk to them anyway and say, hey, you know what? I'm not interested in that, but here's what I do. Do you have any roles that fit my stack? Because guess what? Recruiters look for more than one job at a time. You just got on the email for that job. She may have that job over there,
Julio here knows what's up. When this happens, I say, yes, please.
Yes, please. Maybe I'll get lucky.
That's exactly what we're talking about. That's exactly the correct attitude.
Build a relationship with recruiters. You should have 4 or 5 of these people in your Rolodex. So when you do get laid off or something does happen, you can reach out to them directly. Hey, I happen to be looking. Here's what I can do. And they're like, and be friendly with them. But it's hard to build relationships when you need them and you've ghosted half of them. You're like, well, recruiters ghost me all the time. Okay, it's not a two-way street. Just be awesome at it. Luke, always super chatting. Luke, we can always guarantee you to buy the tacos.
Yes, thank you.
Luke's the guy that always pays when you go to lunch. He's always the guy picking up the tab.
Yeah, but then you feel bad about inviting him. Because he's always going to want to pay, and you're like, look, we'll invite you, but this time you don't pay.
Yeah.
Paying. What does he say?
Okay,
so do you think tech hiring freezes and panic will cause companies to hire more contractors? Okay. The software still needs to get built and maintained. Might be good for positions.
Yeah, I think so. Now, one of the things here in the U.S. policy-wise is they're trying to eliminate contractors. I hope they don't. Or eliminate them how they're classified because they want companies to pay the matching Social Security tax.
Yeah, they're trying to change them from that self-employed designation, right?
Yeah. But either way, however you look at this, contracts, contract to hire, all those arrangements pay you on a weekly basis. Typically, they come with health and insurance. And so either how you're employed is irrelevant. I've done them both. I've owned my own company. I've been a W-2 and I've been a contractor. I've done it all. And so there's nothing wrong with contracting. It's actually cool. You learn a lot and you can do lots more work for lots more different companies and you don't really get dinged for like, hey, why are you moving around? I did, 3 6-month contracts last 2 years. So I think that's, but Luke is right. The software will still need to be built. Facebook will still need to be built and it'll still need to be maintained. Twitter is going to still roll out new features because for the love of God, they need to figure out the blue check thing.
Blue check, white check, gray check, verified. Who am I? What am I buying here again?
Yeah, exactly. Because my Twitter feed is full of blue check discussion. I'm like, Elon, just figure this out for my sanity, for mine.
Did you see what they're going to do with the blue check mark thing too? Though they're going to push you get prioritized if you have a blue check mark, which I think is it's pay to win. It's totally pay to win, and I'm just like, wow, you're going to get away with pay to win? Are you really?
No, he's not. I
know he's not. He's going to try.
Yeah,
I think it's crazy. Hey, I got to say, I did buy my blue check mark. I already used it before. I had a Twitter Blue before, but I did change my subscription to the new one. Not because of some fascination with Elon or the fact that I like what he's doing, because I think it's crazy. I think it's nuts. But I wanted to test it, and I wanted to see what the difference was. And so I'm in it to test.
Yeah,
I think it's interesting.
I've never had a blue check, so I might get in there. I don't know.
Hey, you can buy one now.
But I do think however you get hired, these types of arrangements do happen. People do go through phases of contractors. Contractors are typically easier to let go. You don't have to provide severance typically, depending on what state you're in. So there's a lot of things regulations that get around. Companies can get around regulations by hiring contractors. And so that does happen. I can tell you that's how the world works in tech, So I would say that however you get hired is you need to do. It doesn't really matter what the pay arrangement is, W-2, 1099, self-employed, whatever it is. just stay doing. The fourth thing I want to tell people about is like stay positive on socials. So let's say that you think this is a downturn and you're afraid, like don't post like your inner fears to social media and run out. And you will get compassion with a groupthink on Twitter specifically.
You get compassion from the wrong people. It's the wrong people. They're not going to hire you.
People. They're not going to hire you. So these people can't hire you. So what you want to do is remember, I want to market to the people who can.
Yep.
But here's a good source. Let's look through like what we can do here. We found this.
Yeah.
Layoffs.fyi.
Layoffs.fyi, it's great because they tell you, like, there's a bunch of, like, it basically tells you the company and the layoffs, but then they also have this list of employees. This is an opt-in thing, so people were able to opt in, and we looked through some of the meta layoffs, right? So you can actually open it up like it's a Google Doc. So people fill out a form, and they'll tell you, like, what roles they were doing and their LinkedIn, right? So we clicked through some of these.
Yeah, so right away, look at this, that there's a lot of product in here, like products. It's not all coders. And so like, I want you to understand that they got laid off across the board. And there's probably some math to this where the C-level suite, Mark Zuckerberg and his friends said, hey, I need to cut this amount of dollars off. And they went through every department and figured out where can we cut and what can we do. And this is, that's where 11,000 came from. But we just want to show you how you could do this. Some random
we clicked through some of these, and this one was just one that's almost top of the list.
Stood out to us.
Yeah, was a software engineer. So we clicked through a few, but this was the almost one of the first ones that we clicked on. And it was like, okay, so Julia has been there for not very long, 2 months and Meta.
2 months.
And found herself on this list of 11,000 who got let go.
Right. And so she's looking, but look at this though.
Was make this post.
Yep.
So she must have been in some training because it says she's actually there for 10 months. So.
They have an internal boot camp, and a lot of the internal boot camp people got cut away with this. I don't know how many of that was out of the total 11,000. Yeah. But a lot of them were still in the boot camp at Facebook.
But yeah, this post super positive, has a really good outlook on kind of like where she wants to go next and what happened. Just a really good post. For the next employer is going to see this and realize the kind of person that Julia is.
And she's going to get hired.
Yeah.
And look, even the picture's positive, So guess what? She didn't complain about, I don't know Julia from Adam, she didn't complain about, I've got bills to pay. I don't know where I'm going to eat next week. I don't know like this, the future's rough. None of that. She's just looking forward to what she can bring to the next thing. Look at this next left paragraph. Prior to Meta, I interned as a software engineer at Amazon, Autodesk, and Microsoft. I have front end and back end experience. I'm still figuring what kind of developer I prefer. I'm quick and eager to learn regardless of the role. Instead of saying, Mark Zuckerberg is the spawn of the devil, and I can't believe that I got fired after 2 months. They should have known 2 months before.
Because if you've stood around Twitter for a minute, you've seen those posts because I've seen them.
Yes. And it's awful, so instead this person is overwhelmingly, and I know it's hard not to be positive in a negative situation, but I can tell you that her profile just screams, I'm positive, I'm eager, and I want to learn. And that's going to attract people to your profile. Negativeness will get you compassion built around it, and it'll make you feel better for a while, but it doesn't attract the person you want to hire you. And and I always say this a lot, is like, if you talk about too much information, like I'm not going to eat next week, I don't know where this next bowl of soup's coming from, please hire me by Thursday. That doesn't work. You need to show what value you're going to bring. Yeah. And so here's the other thing that we talked about is provide value. So let's go through like some of the discussions we had over the last year about things that were going on in our world, which is overemployment. Like, so you got to realize, like,
this 3 months ago, man,
people were saying they were getting 3 jobs at once, and there's this whole Reddit thing about overemployment. And I was just I got in there a couple of times and just said, listen, man, overemployment is never a good thing. There's no way you can provide that much value when you're paid full-time work and you have 3 full-time jobs. You can't bring full-timeness to all 3 of those jobs unless you're just working around the clock. But that's not what they were doing. They were splitting 3 jobs or 2 jobs into the same 8 hours and just working part-time at all these places while being paying full-time. And So I admire the hustle. I think it's unethical, but I admire the hustle.
It's
Yeah.
had 114,000 members in R
Right.
overemployed, by the way.
Right.
This is not a fringe community. There's a
No.
lot of people reading about this. Just saying. And this blew up. I mean, this literally blew up during pandemic.
Yeah.
It made so it just go to show you that that we've talked about this before too. Like we see sometimes these day in the life of an employee things, and we've joked about it before. But it's like, I went to get a snack and like I hung out. I did like an hour's worth of work today, and it's like we joke, but that was the truth.
Yeah,
there was a lack of work.
The Twitter ones are hilarious. I mean, like, you know, and like, man, that's a great job if you can get it. You know, I'm
not blaming
which
the
I've always
person doing
wondered,
it.
like, why are you getting leak code for all these people, and then you're just going to allow them to work 3 hours a week? Like, you know,
right?
It's like, do I need leak code to go to the LinkedIn restaurant that's on site there? I mean, do I need that to figure out like which of these chicken meals I want? You know, like I need to sort them. I need a binary sort, you know, like that's what I need. It's a decision tree somewhere. I use graph to figure it out. But like, I think, and so what I think it's coming down to now, I want to be very positive about this. I want to make sure people understand this. I'm not saying that the people that laid off didn't provide value. Okay. I'm not saying that.
Right.
But I do think there was in Fang where not everyone was providing value.
And it says, hope you guys have been well. Blue checks allowing Chris and going to that second job. Difference between getting the first and second job. Thanks. We'll talk about that in a second.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah. So like what I think is that they had to look, and when they said, all right, we need to make cuts, we're overhired here, they're going to find the ones that are providing value and the ones that aren't. And if you were sitting there just going to lunch all day, working 4 hours a week, you probably got cut. Now, I'm sure there are some talented people and some over-engineered people that got cut and they just got caught up in the layoffs. And I'm not saying that, but I'm just saying that in your next role and during the interview process, talk about how you provide value to the employer. And there's nothing wrong with being a good employee. And,
you're increasing your chances of sticking around, aren't you? That's what you're doing.
You are. That's all you're doing, you know? And you're like, well, do I have to pay homage to my, bring palms to the right. to the guy that employs me? No, we're just saying that if you get there and you do work, might as well do good work and add value. And if you're always a value add employee, it's harder to cut those. And you also, even if you got cut from Facebook and you're a supreme value adder, that's going to come out in your job. And they're going to. These value adders that cut out of Facebook or cut out of Twitter are working as soon as they want to. Now they probably will hang out. You know, if you've got 27 weeks of severance, you may
you might as well take the holiday season off at this point.
And might as well. And you're probably paid well anyway. You may have some money to make anyway. So I think that's okay.
Yeah. Luke, another super chat. Thank you. Have you noticed a better quality of life when working on projects that make money versus pure expense IT infrastructure products?
I don't know. I think they both can be fun. I do think that when they come down in the C-suite, sometimes the pure expense projects do get cut. You know, they don't see those as adding super value to the bottom line, and they could be wrong. But like, I think they both can be fun and challenging and rewarding. So, you know.
Yeah, the problem is like, when does that? Yeah, the first ones to get cut seem to be those your expense ones, don't they? Because it's like that's what people look at. Because
look at Twitter. I mean, and so again, don't think I'm heartless. I'm just looking at what he cut. He cut the entire accessibility team from Twitter, okay, to make it accessible and like that. And I guess he figured like, okay, we're accessible enough.
Right.
And that's the pure expense. Right. You know, so like, you know,
probably.
And he cut them, you know, like, will he add them back? Probably. I mean, he probably will say, you know, hindsight's 2020, you know, but that would be a pure like back end role that doesn't add to monetization on the front end. You know, it'd be one example that could happen. So, but is that rewarding work? Yeah, it's rewarding work. Yeah. Let's get back to our one guy. He said the blue checks.
Yep. Pull it up. There we go. So I hope you guys have been well. Blue checks allowing. Curious on going to that second job. Difference between getting the first job and the second job.
It's easier to get the second job for sure, by far. And it's definitely easier to get the second job because you have proof of work on your resume. And then you combine that with a portfolio and an interview game, working with recruiters, it's easier to get the second job for sure. So anyone that, even if you've been at Facebook for 6 months, you know, you can say, hey, this is what I was doing at Facebook. You're going to get a job, the second job, you know, you will, you know. Even employers admire the fact that you got on at Facebook. They know that it's hard to get in and it wasn't easy to get in. And
right,
so
like I'm saying, like exactly. You're
in
a
you're
top
smart
percentage.
and you have this proof of work already.
Yep.
Just even if you did get laid off in the first 6 months of your career there.
Yep.
So that's why I think Julia
right now,
will get hired. She will get 100%. Hired.
100%. Well, imagine if you've got a company and you've been like trying to get the best employees, you literally have a giant talent pool now to go get those. And again, this is not to say that same company wasn't going to hire you as a junior anyway. That person isn't taking your junior job because that person isn't taking a job for $50K. They're just not.
No, they're not.
They're just not, because they know they're worth more, and they know that the hiring pool out there now of companies that want them is there. It's still there. So, okay, you want to do some questions or some comments here then?
Yeah, just some questions, comments. So, so hopefully we can help some people out.
Let's see. Erica says, any advice on how to manage working with the lead dev who is a lone wolf? I like that terminology. Doesn't have experience mentoring and doesn't seem to want to.
It's hard. And I can tell you, Erica, grumpy coder guy. And I can tell you that as a contractor, and I will say in a former life as a contractor, I probably leaned into the lone wolf more than I would like to admit. But, and I didn't want to mentor people. I'm in a different position now and I do, and we work with people, but like, you know, basically when you're a lead dev and you have to manage people and code, it's very difficult. Like, in other words, like you're still trying to do your coding things and you want your home, you need your time to be able to do that. And then you have someone else interrupting your time because they have a lot of questions. And so like, I don't know, you're just going to have to, don't be afraid to ask them questions, ask them how they prefer to management, and then ask them the things that you can help make their life easier. And so in other words, like you say, how can I add value to your life? You know, so can we meet every day at 4? Like, can we meet, you know, twice a week at 3 that fits into your schedule so I don't like have to bug you?
Yep, I think that's good. Setting like a framework is good. I think that's cool.
And just see how you can work with them and see if you can help them out. And then they don't know how to mentor you. A lot of times they don't know how, and they don't know how to explain what they're doing. They're just doing it. And you got to understand that they're just trying to get stuff done. Like, because ultimately a lead dev that's also having a mentor has this pressure coming downward from the C-suite that says, you need to get these things done. He's got all these deadlines. And oh, by the way, make sure Erica knows what to do. You're just like, okay, I'm going to pick the top of these things first. And then if I have time, I'll get to Erica. But like, you know, that's just the reality of it. And so you ask them, how can you fit into their work roles week? And so that you can ask questions and then ask him like, what can I do to take pressure off what you're doing? So,
yeah, I also think it's to do with like your own initiative too, right? So, so like you can't just go ask them a question as soon as something like pops into your brain, right? You've got to like, you've got to show initiative, try to solve it, do your own research, and then explain to them what you've done so far. So you're not just going and saying, hey, Bob, do you know how to do this? You're like, hey, Bob, I've ran into this problem. I found this, and this. I know it's not this, showing that you've researched it. Is it? And I have an idea. It's somewhere down this road. Am I on the right track? Because that's a much easier question for him to like answer and point you in the right direction.
Right.
Let's see. Fang may be cutting jobs. What about the mid-sized companies? I think we've kind of talked about this a little bit.
I think you're going to see growth in all sectors, and then Fang makes the news. Mid companies won't, and I think you're going to be fine. It depends on what tech industry you're in. I mean, like, let's look at things like logistics isn't going anywhere. I mean, like, we're delivering more and more boxes every day. If logistics was a problem, Amazon would be selling those trucks, and they would just outsource it to U.S. Mail and UPS. But they keep doing it.
They're getting electric trucks, by the way. Do you see that?
I know, yeah. So I see growth there. I see growth all over the country, and this this tech growth, I think, is very temporary. This pullback in tech is going to be temporary. Now, we got to understand, Facebook could go away, but that doesn't mean that the market is going away. That means something else replaced it.
Yeah. Yep.
That's all it means.
Yep. We were talking about this,
did anyone cry when MySpace went out of business? No one cared. Right. I mean, they were already on Facebook anyway.
Exactly. Elon called like Twitter the de facto like town hall, right? Which it currently is. But before Twitter, what was there? Everybody was doing the same stuff on Facebook. Before that, what was there? MySpace. It's like Facebook isn't what it used to be. It still has the same product, but MySpace is nowhere to be seen. It is a product, but it's not a product, right? It's like it's not what it used to be. And Facebook will pivot into something else. They're trying to. They recognized they're no longer the place that people go to do that stuff. There'll be something after Twitter.
And there's these other things like Discord, Mastodon. I mean, I don't know if those guys can like fix their products to compete more with Twitter. They could. Maybe they figured it out. I mean, I don't know. I mean, but somebody. What we're saying is, somebody somewhere will figure it out, and that'll be the next thing. And then suddenly, that guy that starts that thing will be the new celebrity we either love or hate. You know, so like, you know, Elon's hated now because he owns a social media company. You know, they used to rag on Jack Dorsey when he owned it. They kill Zuckerberg. You know, like it's like
it's not easy. I don't like.
It goes with the territory. It is like buying a glass house. You know, like it really does, man.
Yeah.
Like,
well, there's going to be a group of people who love you and a group of people who hate you. It's like that's just the way it is. It's so polarizing. That's just how it is. It's like,
and it can vary with the day too. You know, so
Yep. Let's see. We talked about this a little bit, but Cross says, do you think the market being flooded with experienced big tech devs will make it harder for new devs to break into tech in the next couple of years?
No, I don't think in the next couple of months. I don't. Like there's no way a guy that worked on the infrastructure team at Facebook that got let go is going to take a junior dev job to work at a 3-person shop that, you know, that only can pay you $45K because they're smaller.
It's not because I'm bigger than that, I'm not going to take that job. It's because he doesn't have to.
Because United Airlines is going to hire him.
Exactly. Exactly. That's exactly the point. Yep.
Yeah. So they're going to take jobs cross that you can't get right now anyway. Like, that's the jobs they're going to go after. It's a different market. If you're going into tech in the next couple of years, go into tech in the next couple of years. You're still going to have opportunities. You know?
Yep. This kind of goes on with that though. But all roles I've been seeing in the US are senior roles, and US entry level people are screwed.
That's
not true. We literally placed 3 2 days ago, 1 day ago, 2 days ago. So it's just you're looking in the wrong place, or you're just not finding what is there, because they are there. You need to look. You need to start with a recruiter, Jay. Just go down that road.
And learn how to search on, let's just go ahead and give a shameless plug. Go to my LinkedIn course. It's free. It shows you how to use LinkedIn to find jobs. And then there's the job finding section in there. And it shows you how to use LinkedIn to find a role. And you can do it by entry level. Yep. Entry level people aren't screwed. Here's what I would say. Let me go back to my original thing. If you're not finding luck in the open market for your tech skills, you need to evaluate your skills. Are they high enough? So skill up, not skill down. Portfolio, proof of work, you've got to have that. In other words, you're trying to break in, show them that you can build something. And if you're out there unemployed right now, invest in you by building something that you can show somebody. Learn how to answer interview questions, study those things, and then make sure you're working with a recruiter. If you do those things, you can break in. But don't listen to people that says, we're all screwed, we're all going to die. Well, what's the choice? You know, quit, you can, but other people are not going to quit, and they're going to get those roles. The roles are still being out there, and they're still out there, and there are people still being hired for them. Definitely. So skill up, not skill down.
There you go. BK knows what's up.
Yes, BK knows what's up. BK, I'm sorry about the Raiders, man. It's a tough year.
Your Raiders, I didn't want to bring it up. Didn't they give away another 17-point lead? Twice in one season?
Me and BK, now I've known BK social media, but we said, hey, this year we may go to Vegas and just meet up in Vegas and watch a Raiders game.
I'd
The
wait till
good
next
thing
year.
is the tickets might be easy to get.
That's true. That's true. That's true. But I wait till next year. I don't think this is your season.
We lose to the Jaguars and the Saints. Enough about football, but like, it's just insane how bad we are.
I forgot about that. I forgot to mention it. I've been sick. I had a couple of days sick, so I totally forgot to mention it. But I did see that this weekend. I was like, oh look! I saw it at the beginning, and I was like, oh look, Raiders are gonna win. and then I saw the final score, and I was like, oh no, they didn't score again.
No, that's it.
That was funny. That was good. Let's do this one last thing and see if we can help. So we can help Christian here. It says, hey guys, I completed a bootcamp in Canada, sent over 200 applications to junior web positions, but haven't received a single call back. Am I doing something wrong, or is that just the norm? That is not the norm.
Here's the good thing, Christian. We think you're doing something wrong. Okay, but I don't want you to take it the wrong way.
Yeah.
So if you're applying blindly to applications, and that's all you're doing, so you're going to Indeed, whatever it says apply now, and you click it, and you just apply. The reason you're going to have to do a lot of those because they go into a stack and HR has to filter through those. The other thing that's hidden is they go through resume scanners. And so like if your resume doesn't have the right keywords in it, it gets filtered out anyway. And so that's why you're going to have to play the law of large numbers. But we don't want to do that. So go look for a targeted job search based on the stack you know. So let's say that you went to a boot camp and you built it in React. You need to look at only React jobs. And then if you look at just React jobs, then apply directly. Then go to LinkedIn, find someone in the company that you can talk to directly and say, I just applied. Here's 3 reasons why I can work for you. And try to leapfrog the process. You go through the process, but then reach out to them directly. And if you keep doing that, you'll eventually win. That's what recruiters do. Recruiters have the resume, they present it to the employer, and they tell them why they need to hire this person over all the 200 apps they got. And that's what it is. The second thing you need to consider is your portfolio good? And is it good enough? We've made a lot of videos on that.
Get people to look at it. Get people who you kind of trust. Don't get your spouse, your mom, your dad, your brother, sister, whatever, because they're just going to tell you it's great. Get somebody who's in the industry who you know will give you the honest truth about whether it's good enough or not. And
if it's not good enough, build more things. Build an application that you can put on there. We think the one coding project that we talk about on our YouTube channel, you can go watch it. Talks about building a bug tracker. That's the types of apps that I think you need to build in order to get that job. Something that wows the employer when they look at it, like, wow, that's cool. That's nice. I think you're doing something wrong, and it's somewhere in that maybe your portfolio isn't good enough or you don't have one. And you're also blindly submitting pray and spray job applications. You need to be very targeted based on the stack you know, and then reach out and connect to them directly through LinkedIn.
I'll also say it's weird that, like, okay, so not a single communication after 200 is definitely not normal as well. So, and I know you say that, but there's something wrong with what you're submitting. Or, I mean, this is like a weird, like, out there thing, but you could also have a technical problem with, like, how are you expecting to get communication back? Like, are you giving them the right phone number? I know it's like a weird, like, crazy thing, no, that's worth checking.
No, we have to tell this to students all the time. Like, they'll put like a weird Gmail address on their portfolio because they don't want to get spam.
Yeah.
And then it doesn't
work. Yeah.
And then we try to reach out to that portfolio to a student that graduated here at CodeFounder and say, hey, are you checking that email? We've got you an interview request. And we don't hear back. Like, what happened? Like, oh, I don't check that email. Like, well, why the heck did you put it on that portfolio? What how are we supposed to call you? That's why we've moved all of our students and say, hey, if you're not on Teams, we can't communicate to you, because we had a problem communicating to people through cell phones changing, emails changing. But that could be a problem, Christian. You got to make sure that if you're reaching out to you, hey, make sure you do it. The other thing with Indeed and all these other things is they'll put it in an Indeed email address. And because they don't want to keep up with your Gmail account. If you're not checking that thing,
right,
you can't reach back. So there's a lot of things that go on there that could happen. That's why you need to apply and then contact the company directly through LinkedIn.
Yep. There you go.
All right. Cool.
Cool. One last thing, because somebody asked while we're here, how much does Code Foundry Bootcamp
Shameless
cost?
plug here.
Shameless plug.
So you can check it out right now.
Two products.
Code Foundry.
Yep.
Yeah, 2 products.
You can go to codefoundry.com or learn.codefoundry.com. We have an online self-paced course we can get for as low as 40-something bucks a month if you pay for it annually. And then there's the full-on bootcamp, which depends on how you're paying for it. We have ISA options, we have cash options, we have loan options. So it depends. We don't have one. There's no one like this costs you $25.
Right.
It depends. So.
Yeah, so just reach out to us if you're interested in it, and we'll educate you on all those things. I will say this: if you want to come to the in-person bootcamp, virtual in-person, you need to apply this month so that we can get you in and get you ready for January. If you want to start now,
my insider tip: best way to pay for it if you have the money is pay for it in cash.
Yeah,
pay for it up front. It's the cheapest way of doing it.
Cheapest way to do it.
You can get an ISA and pay nothing, and then you're gambling on yourself, right? But it's easy. If I was doing it, that's what I would. That's just me. Yeah, cool. We'll be back again next week. Thursday.
Yeah, just like and subscribe. Give us a good like here on this one, and maybe we can help someone else out. I think this has been an important stream for people to figure out. It's not all lost, man. You can definitely still break in. Don't worry about the news. It's going to be okay.
Yep. As you said, upskill. Don't downskill. That's the takeaway.
Upskill, baby.
Yeah. All about the upskill. Go learn some exciting new things and be ready when you can get that opportunity, which are still out there in there plenty.
Yep. All right. Well, good luck. Just keep coding. We'll see you next week.
We'll see you guys later.